Good morning. I'm Earl Proeger, and it is actually 6 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm hoping that the coffee kicks in soon and my brain functions a little bit properly to put my thoughts together. My brother Mark Proeger was a college pastor here in our home church. We grew up in Hope Chapel, and so as a youth member, he went on to become seminary trained and then became a high school pastor and then a college pastor. Eventually, he started a program on campus called Hope Student Life, which had a great deal of impact on hundreds and hundreds of kids. Recently in life, he felt challenged and wanted to get away and learn more. So he took his whole family up to Northern California to a school up there, and they spent 6 months to a year learning a great deal more. And after that time, they felt led to a mission organization in South Africa that's doing amazing things, training people in church planting. It's called CPX. And as a result of this training organization, churches are being planted in countries like China, India, all over Africa. And the methods that they have begun to use have been very effective in planting these little 35-person small churches. So he moved his wife and his 3 small children all the way to South Africa, much to the chagrin of my mother and our family. And that's what this speech was about. So he came and spoke at Hope Chapel. He spoke on a podium. It sticks out into the audience, so he's surrounded on all sides, except the back, by audience members. He did a wonderful job just peppering just enough slides in so that it supported what he had to say but didn't dominate the conversation. And in fact, for long stretches of time, the screen was black. He didn't have slides that lingered or anything like that. After a wonderful introduction of sharing where their family was at and showing pictures of South Africa, and even having a very fun blooper-filled video of greeting from Ceci and the kids to Hope Chapel, which is originally their home church, he went on to start with a very basic question. And the question was, are you a Christian or are you a follower of Christ? Not just how you identify yourself, but are you actively still in the place of seeking God and being led by Him every day in all your decisions? And that bears very much on how they proceed to plant churches in South Africa and elsewhere, as they don't see it as a task that's carried out like building a building, with engineering and step-by-step kind of instructions, but rather a very organic thing of finding a man of peace within a cultural group, spending time with that person, and then asking that person if they can bring their friends and other folks that they have influence with into the conversation. And from that, churches grow. So some of the things he did in his presentation that were wonderful was he started with a very basic question and explored some of the theology of that, but then went on to talk about mission work being done in Muslim countries, the things they're doing in Africa, and tying it all together to that central theme of not only following Christ yourself, but encouraging others to follow Christ and see what the church looks like that Christ leads them to, not you leading them to an expression of church. And so at one point he brought up about 7 volunteers from the audience, had 6 people be a subculture. In this case he chose a funny thing, chain-smoking, scary bikers. And then he had a lady come up as the missionary. And so he ran 2 scenarios, the typical church type of mission work, and then the kind of mission work that they're learning down in South Africa. And it really drew a very tight parallel, but also made it relatable to our lives and not just about foreign people. So the whole thing was wonderful because the things they're learning are not just applicable out in the field or in a foreign space, but rather also applicable to our lives. It had a very wonderful, tight conclusion and flow. He was very comfortable in front of the podium. These are his friends and family, people that he's lived with for decades. So it was probably him at his best. In conclusion, Mark was a very clear and concise speaker who stuck with a very central theme that made it relatable and easy to draw back to, while conveying a great deal of information about what's going on in the world of missions and how things are changing in the way that missions are being carried out and church planting is occurring. He also had a message that was applicable to our lives here in Austin, Texas, and not just to those who've given their lives over to missions. I greatly enjoyed hearing him speak. He was very effective at using slides and illustrations with people from the audience, and I would recommend anyone coming to see him anytime he's in town to speak. I'm very proud of him, and I look forward to seeing what fruit his life will bear.